Reuben's Rant.
Now, my rant this week is about the news that banks are going to be abandoning the household expenditure measure. So, as a way of background on this, when you apply for a home loan, you've got to give an estimate of your expenses. It used to be just a complete work of fiction. You put, $3,000 or $4,000 a month. They then introduced this household expenditure measure, which is a bit of a more scientific measure. It's based on average spending, depending on your family size. I'm not sure it depends on the suburb that you live in. It certainly would depend on the state that you live in. And they use that as a basis to work out what your borrowing capacity is. In other words, what your surplus cash flow might be to be able to pay loans back. But now, following the Royal Commission, the banks are saying one by one, no, we're going to abandon this measure, and what we're actually going to do is have to run off precise figures of what you're spending. So that means going through your bank accounts, your credit statements line by line, and working out exactly what you spend. Now, look, I don't necessarily have such a problem per se with this. I mean, obviously the amount that you can pay on a loan should be relative to what your income is and what your spending is. But I just feel it's another step in this direction of people not taking responsibility for the amount that they borrow. And it's up to the banks to actually assess line by line what your expenses are. I don't feel that should be the responsibility of the banks. You should disclose what you disclose. And, I just feel like this is another move to the nanny state and people not taking responsibility for their own levels of debt. I also don't know that there is significant evidence on a substantial scale that using that expenditure measure has actually led to really poor outcomes. I know there's been some cases where people have lent more than they should, but that's going to happen anyway. So I don't know where the evidence is, apart from a few cases, but is that enough to actually change the laws? I don't think that it is.